And welcome back to the Nutrimedical Report for Monday the 13th of July. And it's hard to believe how fast the time is flying. It's mid-July and summer is on. And I want to talk about some of our latest. I've done, over the weekend, I did 3 major updates to wellness conditions. And people say, well, which ones were they? Well, check out the front page. You'll see I'm going to do revisions. I put a stamped date on them. But I want to go over some of the latest Nutrimedical technologies that we were using to try to get people well. And some of the general principles. The first thing is, your genes are not deterministic. When you hear people that say they've read about the Angelina Jolie, I call it the Hollow Woman Syndrome, if you've got a gene, I like to quote from the Old Testament, which I think people take out of context, if thy, hand offend thee, cut it off, kind of thing. Well, I think if thy gene offend thee, cut it off attitude is, of course, one that the typical medical profession approaches, which is why they do commando-style chemotherapy and surgery, when really cancer is an infection with gene switching, and you have to convince, in other words, the best way to approach cancer is like a salesperson, and you don't have to read bad books or bad genes. Those bad genes are present there because they're ancient adaptive genes depending on stressful circumstances like starvation that people had to survive, and when they take nutraceuticals, they're surviving by switching on those bad genes. The genes would preserve body mass, which may later on, when you have lots of food, turn you diabetic or develop specific health problems. So I think what people should start to realize is that our approach is, number one, our Nutrimed line are completely unique compared to Longevity, GNC, any other nutritionals, because they jump the gene defect or the SNP or polymorphism of the DNA. They jump the toxic effect that blocks specific enzymes. Number one, they have high bioavailability and slow release. So you have, like our cell defense, we have slow release forms. And then what they do is they are customized to specifically to your specific health problem. You can't just take one size fits all and then pop it in and figure that the body can handle it. In fact, for example, some nutraceuticals in their non-converted form are actually toxins like non-converted vitamin B1. High dosages of it actually can cause neuropathy. Magnesium taking too much will give you diarrhea. And you want to not get diarrhea because it'll actually cause more hypomagnesemia, which is very bad because your glutathione peroxidase is dependent on it. So, Clay, our Nutrimed line is very unique. We also have technologies that can customize it, not only your wellness history, which I have a great deal of experience in reviewing and giving you specific recommendations and protocols, which are more advanced than anybody else's anywhere in the world, because I've been at this longer. Plus, I was a biochemist before I went into medicine in 1973, so I have all that experience. But then we have technologies now like functional medicine tests. When I went to medical school, we didn't have what we call living pathology. We do now. We have gene tests, including Prometheus can analyze your 23andMe. We've got blood tests and urine, stool, gene markers, all kinds of things like stool, CDSA2 tests. And we have scalar technologies, and the ones that I like particularly are the QRMA, the Bioplasm NLS. We've got our latest model now with a new update in the software. We have the Metapathia. And by the way, I want to announce today we do now have our ozone machines. Those will be going up today after the show. We do have our plasma air filtration machines. We also have a new hydrogen anion detox device, and also has settings even for slimming. So all kinds of technologies. Those will be posted up. The QRMA and the Bioplasm NLS and Metapathia, I've worked out a technology to get a feedback for creating what I call a morphogenic or field frequency therapy as well. And that technology I will be giving to only our customers. No one else is going to have access to that technology which I'm developing. So what I want you to understand is, even if you got, say, an older Bioplasm NLS, we have no upgraded software and software information keys for the Bioplasm. What I do is, when I do a consultation, I log on to your device and I can actually help you there. So, Clay, with Nutrimeds, they're very unique, aren't they? What would you say would be the key things that really set them aside from anybody else's nutraceuticals? Not only they're professionally, like a professional set of surgical tools, you want to call it molecular surgical tools, to fix the underlying metabolism or living pathology of the cells. But they're pretty amazing, aren't they, compared to any other nutraceuticals that you can find. They're professional grade. No one else has access to these. You can't just kind of go online and buy them. And, of course, even if you were able to do that, you wouldn't be able to know how to use them. It's like getting a tool set for, let's say, an astronaut to work on a capsule that's rotating around in space above the Earth. You if you don't have the training, the tools mean nothing, but they don't have access to the tools either.
Absolutely, yeah. There's so many different factors to why Nutrimed stands out from the rest. And I had to start with, first and foremost, the manufacturing processes that you go through to have these products built. They're in a CGMP, FDA-approved laboratory. And you think, oh, well, everybody has them made in-house, and that's not the case. Very few product lines get made in that high of quality of a manufacturing facility, state-of-the-art. I've never seen one any better than this. Probably the best one in the entire world.
And then when the proof is in the pudding. If you look at our drinks, and we did a comparison about 2 years ago, comparing our drinks with everybody else's. Metagenics, Algae Research, all the major companies out there with their drinks, they're horrendous. They were like, it's like the old story, of those cough drops. They tell you, tastes real bad, must be good for you. I don't believe that thesis. Tastes real bad. How about tastes real bad is real bad for you? And a lot of people have tried to kind of turn it into multi-level businesses. Another thing that I think is crazy. First off, functional medicine is not something you just hop into and all of a sudden you're an expert. I talk to medical doctors who are in practice 20, 30, 40, 50 years, and they have no training in functional medicine, which is living pathology. They have no clue what to do. And I don't care if they're subspecialists in endocrinology, surgery, whatever. I consult with doctors all the time that are my, quote, online patients around the world, from China to Russia to everywhere, and they know virtually nothing. And we're talking about people that are afraid of their colleagues doing radiation therapy or conventional chemo, conventional surgery, conventional drug therapy, polypharmacy. And they realize they don't want all that stuff because they know after so many drugs you become, number one, toxic because you can't detoxify. Demented because you can't think anymore. And you get toxic because these drugs really don't fix the underlying problem. They try to spray the flashing light in the dashboard of your body. And when people also take the other approach, so I call the uber naturopathic approach, where, well, we have full knowledge of all these things, and all you have to do is take one size fits all, and you're going to be fine. That's craziness. In fact, it creates more nutritional imbalances when you take things that are not custom designed to your body, high bioavailability, and all bioconverted so it jumps to gene defects or toxic blockade. And I think people should understand that this is not for them to try to make a presumption that all of a sudden they're going to be an instant expert. They're not. What they should do is that we give them wellness protocols, and I try not to make them too complicated. I could take a wellness protocol and make it a 20 or 30 page paper, highly technical terms of why it affects things like psoriasis and affects interleukin 27 in the prickle cell layer of their skin, and how we can downregulate the cytokines with what we call allergon is the old term. We're going to rename it DAO, histamine cytokinase, basically diamine oxidase. It's a special enzyme, and it has to be the right enzyme size and activity. We have a single supplier in Europe that's the only one in the world that can actually downregulate our cytokines, or our Power C Plus, which is the only in the world neutral, not buffered, but neutral pH mixed mineral ascorbate, calcium, magnesium, sodium, potassium ascorbate with bioperin on the planet, and the only cell defense in the world, the only Nutridyne and monatomic iodine. These are not available anywhere else. So don't second guess Dr. Deagle. If you want me to help you, if you want to stop the foolishness of thinking you can just walk down the aisle of a grocery store or grab some longevity or get some GNC vitamins or order online at Vitacost, and you think you're going to be an instant nutraceutical expert, these are powerful molecular therapies. They are not to be taken lightly. What we offer here in Nutrimedical, we have a zillion consults, requests, people saying, I want your access to your wellness conditions. Well, I'll tell you what, out there, if you want access, you have to do one thing, just purchase a product in the last 6 months. If it's before 6 months, you're no longer a current customer. You just need to purchase a product and you get access. If you have a question, you can email me, even if you're not a customer, I'll give you a quick and dirty answer. If you're a customer and in the last 6 months, you can actually put a request for a phone consult, and I'll do that. If it looks like you're going to try to swamp me with zillions of medical records, x-rays, MRIs, lab reports, etc., I'm going to charge you a consult fee, but that's very rare. 99% of the time, all I'm going to do is try to give you, this is my ministry, to give you the answers. Because, you see, when you hear all these naturopaths and all these other people that are, former veterinarians and other people who think that they know medicine, hogwash. I mean, I've been a specialist in internal medicine. I've done every kind of surgery except open heart and brain, worked in intensive care, military medicine, and radiation medicine. And you think these knuckleheads know even 1,000th what I know? It's ridiculous. So what I want you to understand out there, I'm providing you medical advice. I'll tell you what's necessary in terms of the surgical and medical care that's standard of care, top standard of care currently. And I'll tell you how to integrate it with the top functional medicine, functional pathology, nutraceuticals, so you can minimize drugs. I didn't say all drugs are bad, but to be honest with you, as we get more and more advanced knowledge in functional medicine and genetics, the drugs are going to keep shrinking and shrinking and shrinking until they just go away. Right now, my level of knowledge is such that I'd say we're down to less than 20% of all drugs are appropriate 20% of the time or less. And pretty soon that's going to disappear. As our genetic knowledge, our functional medicine knowledge, our technologies increase, these things aren't going to be necessary. They just aren't. We're going to be able to pull people out of heart failure, correct hypertension, treat cancer, do all kinds of things without the necessity of using toxic pharmaceutical drugs. And most pharmaceutical drugs are taking a natural molecule and they add a side group. So, Clay, let's talk about a couple of those combinations. One of the more common ones I keep on asking is cancer. And we have, of course, malignant rest, developed by Dr. Sven Georgi, malignant block, cell defense, micelle D3, myco D2, Inflamex to strip off the capsule of the tumor, a whole range of nutraceuticals, NutriDefense, which I designed. It's people with Power C+, full vitamin K2, ellagic acid. People should understand, we've had people that have just said, hey, I'm just going to take all your recommendations, Deagle, and I'm not even going to listen to what you told me to go and get gene-based cancer therapy or go to ISILS or Oasis of Hope or the BioCare facility in Mexico and get, the coli vaccine or the dendritic, RNA vaccine to make my T cells go crazy and attack the cancer. People were, stubborn, and they just take the nutraceuticals, and we've had people that have been, quote, put into remission, we're not going to say cure, by just taking our nutraceuticals. And I say, well, I wouldn't. I mean, I would probably do these other things on top of it because I'm obsessive compulsive, but people have been cured. And that means if you have hypertension, we've had people with heart failure that are told you're terminal, because a bad case of heart failure is the same survival curve as a stage 4 metastatic cancer that's gone to your bones and your brain and your liver. That's how long survival is. We pull people out of heart failure that have been said, you're done, basically almost go to hospice, you're going to die. And we pull them out of it. And people say, you can't do that, Deagle. Look, I've been doing hundreds of health conditions around the world from hepatitis C, and you don't need to take that new drug that's $8,000 or $10,000 a month. You can take our nutraceuticals that are a tiny fraction of that and get your hepatitis C or B, or your chronic fatigue syndrome, or your, as I put out in Morgellons protocol, which I believe is a mycobacterial pathogen, filamentous pathogen. It's basically part bacteria, part fungus, but in filaments. And to get rid of it. People say, you can't do that. I do it all the time, everywhere on the planet. And, I can provide more care to you than your own doctor standing right in front of you. And people say, you can't do that. I say, well, I do. And I want people to understand that you can't compare this to anywhere else. So, Clay, let's talk about cancer. Malignant rest, malignant block, say Inflamex. Let's talk about those three, because cancer's a biggie, and we keep on getting questions, and people say, Deagle, you can't do this. I'm thinking, no, that's not true. In fact, our malignant rest, for example, we've privately named it, but it's used in cancer clinics, both conventional and alternative, in 26 countries. So it's not like I invented this. I go around looking for the very best nutraceuticals on the planet and private label them or custom design them myself. So, Clay, let's talk about these for a minute.
Yeah, I really love the malignant block. What's in it is the highest quality form of sulforaphane, glucosinolates, and glucoraphanin. And what that is that comes from 4-day-old broccoli seed sprouts. And that's when they're harvested to get the highest concentration of sulforaphane and glucoraphanin. And if you were to go to Medline or PubMed and type in sulforaphane, glucosinolate, or SGS, you'll see that there's well over 1,000 different published research articles on that ingredient. And some of the studies have been done. Many of the studies have been done in hormone-dependent type of cancers. And so very exciting ingredient within the malignant block. It is the highest quality. It is the licensed material that you get from Johns Hopkins University, who did the original 9 research studies on it a decade ago or more. And the way it works is it helps upregulate phase 2 detoxification enzymes. It helps to recycle glutathione and helps really detoxify a lot of those estrogens, excess estrogens that are in the body.
Right. So, and xenoestrogens are the things that are going to turn on the bad genes. For example, if I had a chance before Angelina Jolie decided to become a hollow woman, start lopping off her breasts and taking over her sexual organs, I would advise her to say, those genes don't need to be read. They can be like a magazine, you put a tab on it or encase it in plastic. So those genes, no one gets every chance to even open that genetic basket of genes. And the way you do it is take things like malignant block, malignant rest, ellagic acid, take away things that basically give things that repair the DNA or make those cells that start switching on those abnormal genes to go through apoptosis or programmed cell death. So what people should understand is that a lot of the genes that we consider lethal are probably adaptive. In other words, they're genes that under certain circumstances would save your life. In other circumstances will give you cancer. For example, there's a pro-inflammatory gene that we now know that if humans have it, they're more likely to be able to fight infections in their lungs. But that same gene complex, under exposure to toxic chemicals and volatile particles, will actually cause lung cancer. So, on the one hand, it'll save you from dying of pneumonia. On the other hand, if you get exposed to a lot of pollutants and you don't get detox yourself from the pollutants, it's going to cause lung cancer. So, what you got to do is you got to say, okay, well, I won't smoke, number one. Number two, you won't put yourself in exposure, but you also take nutraceuticals so the bad genes don't get turned on or overturned on to actually cause problems that'll cause harm. And you can't just pop a few vitamins and think, well, I'm going to take these vitamins and there should be like a Band-Aid. That's the stupid approach of doctors that have no training more than a cigarette wrapper of their total knowledge base of what functional medicine and nutraceuticals and molecules do. The body is made of biological chemicals and intermediates that regulate cellular structure and function and turn on and off genes by epigenetically signaling them. So we take things like cell defense. It's another important anti-cancer. You take it 2 tablets twice a day and it slowly releases it. It helps to suppress cancer cell transformation, helps your body fight the cancer, help identify the cells, just like your immunoglobulins and Nutrimune. They boost your immune system to stop GI tract allergy and inhalant allergies. Amazing. Thank you, Clay. We will see you again next Monday. Coming up in just a moment, we'll have Tom Strader from... Tom, let's talk about the history of MG12. We have MG12 nutraceutical we call topical supplements that complement our Nutrimed line. And what I do, and it gives you an idea of for people out there what I use some MG12 Magna soap in my bath and shower every day. I use the magnesium, you can use a magnesium shampoo. We have the magnesium roll-on deodorant, a Magnus Sport, which I spray after my shower. You can do a dilution if you want to do a dilution of it, 1 to 5, 1 to 3. You have the magnesium oil and the magnesium Dead Sea bath salts. And why they're so much better than just the Epsom salts, it's magnesium chloride and all the 22 plus trace minerals that are present in the Dead Sea. They're not present in even the regular oceans, but are in the cells of all our bodies. And when you remineralize, as I've said before, especially if you amplify it with indiamines, and you take our oral supplements, which include Vitamin Mineral Max, Minerals Plus, which attracts amino acid chelates, they're also present in our life support, etc. You remineralize from the inside, you amplify it with indiamines, but you need a topical absorption to get optimum and maximum levels. If you were to say what's the stress mineral in the body, it's magnesium. It's the master mineral. It's the mineral that's in chlorophyll, for example, that converts sunlight into plant food, but also is a primary mineral with 300 enzymes that regulates our DNA production, glutathione peroxidase, which protects it against most dangerous free radicals, helps you replicate your cells. I mean, there's so many enzymes that are dependent on magnesium, including creating myelin sheaths in the nerves, doing almost everything. Even our digestive enzymes are dependent on magnesium. So if you're having hypermagnesiuria, which means too much in your urine, it means you're under stress. And of course, you know what stress does. It creates free radicals. And if you have free radicals, you get DNA damage and mitochondrial damage. So let's talk about the history of MG12. People really don't understand just how important topicals are. If you're using topical minerals, your body is not going to have muscle cramps, restless leg syndrome. You're not going to have coronary artery spasms. You're not going to have malperfusion of your brain. Your free radical load of your whole body is going to be considerably lower. You're going to have better antioxidant protection, digestive enzymes, myelination. Even your stem cells don't work if you have adequate mineral levels. You have to have adequate mineral levels for your stem cells to work in your body. Even cell signaling and turning on the genes means a mineral frequency, we call a scalar signal from that mineral, signals the cell membranes to turn on the genes to actually make the proteins for your structural proteins and your enzymes. So if you don't have minerals, everything else stops. Everything else stops. So, Tom, let's talk about MG12. Let's go to the product line where you have everything from cosmetics to
yes, sir.
All the bath products and so on.
Dr. Bill, we are not a cosmetic company. We came into the Dead Sea products because of the improvement of my health and health of the family and of friends and neighbors, and that's what drew me to Dave and Drew Banks, who had started this company about 8 years ago.
Right.
In a little town in Townville, South Carolina, which you'd known Dave and Drew for a number of years, Dr. Bill.
Oh, yeah. Dave and Drew have known
so,
for many years, and you of picked up the company and ran with
right.
it and tried to expand the product line, which
yes.
you've done a fantastic job. And I really think, now you can purchase these products in some pharmacies around, I think, in the East Coast of the United States, but
right.
purchase them through us and our link, and we get credit here at Nutrimedical because it helps support the show and the business and our ministry. But I think this really is important. I tell people, when you start adding topical minerals to your whole daily health program, it transforms everything. You know?
Well, it changed my life, Dr. Bill, to the point that I looked at, okay, how do I take this to the next level? And we were able to put the small company together, MG12. We changed it from Magnitude to MG12 to get the periodic table number for magnesium, MG12, the power of magnesium. And that's what we're trying to stress to people, the power that is in magnesium. And it's magnesium chloride, as you said earlier. It's not magnesium sulfate. It's like magnesium sulfate being Epsom salt. That's good, but it's taken this product, when you combine the Dead Sea minerals that are found in the Dead Sea along with the magnesium chloride, which is the highest magnesium chloride content on the face of the earth, is the Dead Sea. When you combine those to work synergistically together, and it's in a topical ionic form, that it goes right into the skin. The skin is the largest organ of the body. Absorbs into the bloodstream, goes right into intercellular level, and you will see results so much faster than you would if you were just taking a topical mineral supplement. Magnesium is the spark of life. It also increases your ATP generation in the cells. The energy level increases. I noticed that right off the bat that I quit having muscle spasms and cramps and twitching in my eyelid. I used to have a lot of twitching in my left eyelid, and my left bicep would quiver. I thought, well, what's going on with all this? Well, once I started using magnesium oil and soaking in the minerals, I found out my body was so desperately deprived of magnesium. And I've shared this on the program before. At age 40, I had a heart attack. I was running about 30 miles a week, about 10 miles every other day, and got to the point where one afternoon I felt the elephant sitting on my chest, and checked myself into Presbyterian Hospital in Charlotte, North Carolina. Showed VTAC on the monitor. They started me on IV drip of magnesium. Guess what, Dr. Bill? To relax my heart muscle that was spasming for the lack of magnesium. It takes calcium to constrict the muscle. It takes magnesium to relax it. That's the pumping action of the heart. When it doesn't relax and release, then the heart seizes up, and it's called a heart attack. And you can relate to that, Dr. Bill.
Now, the thing is that I started doing research in this in 78 and sent my research material on to Dr. Eisenberg at the University of Washington Research Center and the American College of Surgeons back in 78. And I'm one of the few doctors in the world that actually were instrumental in getting magnesium as part of the advanced cardiac life support. Dr. Russell Blaylock, who's been on the program, and I get his newsletter regularly, he's pretty smart. And he was a biochemist before he went into medicine and neurosurgery, and he tried to use magnesium in the neurointensive care unit, which stopped intracranial hypertension after doing neurosurgery, or spinal gliosis of the cord after traumatic, traction injury to the spinal cord, where you have to put him in a traction helmet and body cast. So what people should start understanding is magnesium is the anti-stress, anti-free radical, anti-degeneration mineral. And when you get to age 70, 1 in 7 people is in atrial fibrillation, and they're given things like Coumadin, which is rat poison, They're given Eliquis, which is lawsuits over it, Xarelto, which is big lawsuits over it, and other drugs that cause massive bleeding. They don't fix the problem because it's really magnesium is the primary deficiency, and then maybe other problems with the Lennox sclerosis of the conduction pathway bundles that are related to oxidative stress, etc., which also again ties to active magnesium and phospholipid deficiencies and carnitine. And many of the drugs that the doctors give actually interfere directly, like HMG reductase inhibitors, with the actual oxidative metabolism, the ATP, and the electron transport chain in the mitochondria, which is 2/3 of the dry weight of your heart, and 80% of the dry weight of your blood vessel wall muscles is mitochondria that are totally dependent on magnesium and other trace minerals. So
Dr. Bill,
when people say they wonder why
from migraines, this product is very helpful with that, because migraines, blood vessels are constricting, but magnesium is a vasodilator, and it opens up the blood vessels. So migraines can really be, I won't say it knock them completely out, but it'll greatly reduce them.
Oh, but you add those magnesium topically and then to oral, like our magnesium glycinate malate, our Brain Mag, and then you add our other nutraceuticals like Vascular Care, CoQ10 ubiquinol, CoQ10, mitochondrial catalysts, uridine, etc. We reverse all these things. We have people in atrial fibrillation say, "Doc, I went back to my doctor and I can't believe it. He doesn't believe it." But of course, they never call me. I mean, these cardiologists, ruining business. We were going to do a cardiac ablation or a cardioversion with 50 joules of energy. We're going to do an ablation of specific conduction pathways in the heart. Stay right there, Tom. We'll be continuing this dialogue because I want people to understand the importance of MG12. You go to the front page of Nutrimedical, go down to the MG12 symbol there in green under Associates. Hit that link directly, and we will get credit for your MG12 products purchases. Do it today. You'll see the Associates side. You'll see a big green MG, and you'll see like a 5-sided figure, basically the symbol for MG12. And it's an amazing product line. I mean, you've got everything from the Magnus Sport that has Arnica Montana, all the essential oils, as well as all the minerals. You got the magnesium oil, the magnesium bath salts. And these, by the way, from the Dead Sea. Because they're filtered, the oil is crystal clear. I mean, if you're to get any magnesium oil from any other company, or you do things like magnesium sulfate, which is Epsom salts, these are very inferior. Firstly, you don't want sulfates. You want to have a chloride. And you want to have all the trace minerals from the Dead Sea, which are not even present in the ocean water. So when other companies try to just take general ocean water, and you want it also clean, you want to make sure there's no biotoxins present in your oil or your water. So just taking general water out of the oil and trying to create magnesium oil, you'd have a product that would be laced with ocean-based biotoxins we've been dumping for the last couple centuries and destroying the oceans, which is why the biosphere is collapsing. So let's talk about the effectiveness. We have skin lesions like psoriasis settling, burns. We have MG12 can be used orally. We have people that even take it orally when we don't recommend that. But we've had people that made a mistake. I remember talking back when we were your colleagues before you took over the business, where this lady in Australia purchased some of their product, and she was having some very horrible problems, serious multiple health problems, terminal. And she took it, and basically all her health problems just disappeared. I'm thinking, oh my gosh. So when you get your magnesium levels up, and also all your other trace minerals, your body starts to be able to cope with almost anything, whether it's hypertension, cancer, autoimmune diseases, decreased bone density. I mean, almost anything. It lays a platform that if you take the right other nutraceuticals orally, and you maybe use other technology, I call it the Power One's oxygen, which is mild hyperbaric oxygen, perhaps with ozone. By the way, we have our ozone machines now. They're arriving in the next few days. You maybe want to add to that an air compressor and so on. Maybe you want to use scalar technology such as our micropulse from NASA or our lumen photon therapy to add the signal. So the power of oxygen, NutriMeds, energetic technology, and stem cells. Magnesium is the most important mineral for your stem cells to work. So if you're trying to rebuild your joints, your cartilage, your ligaments, your myelin sheaths, and your peripheral nerves or whatever, if you don't have magnesium in the trace minerals, it doesn't happen. Every enzyme in your body at the active site has to have a mineral. It's almost like the cutting edge of the tool or whatever has to have an ionic form of a special mineral, whether it's manganese. Let's say, for example, if you want to prevent high altitude sickness, guess what? The MG12 products have molybdenum, which is necessary to convert your amino acids to neurotransmitters to stop depression, to allow you to tolerate high altitude. So if you take, for example, our Supernox, you take a high nitrate diet like beet juice, and then you take minerals such as the MG12 and Indiamines, you're going to optimize your molybdenum levels, so you're going to be protected against HAPE and HAG, which is high altitude pulmonary edema, high altitude cerebral edema. Amazing. You probably didn't know that, I'll bet, Tom, that
Dr. Bill, I learn something every time I'm on the phone.
In other words, if you're using
your
these,
broadcast,
you go visit Mexico City
one of the things I think I would love to touch on too is the difference between what we've been shoved down our throat is the need for calcium, keep from osteoporosis. And what's happened, Dr. Bill, is the bones have become so brittle, they're kind of like honeycomb. They do not have the magnesium to help knit the calcium and the magnesium together to make the bones more flexible.
Well, your bone is magnesium. It's 2-to-1 now on 2 ions of calcium, 1 of magnesium, 7 water molecules, trace elements of silicon, molybdenum, and boron and manganese. And if you don't have all those trace minerals, it doesn't work. You don't create osteoblasts, lay down new bone, little troweling out the bone and lamellae. If you don't have collagen cross-link, for example, that's why we use Collagen Max, Joint Performance Tendon Mender, and Mountain Red Velvet to actually have the ACM to build we call it the rebar to crystallize on. But when using topical minerals, as well as you're taking our bone generator, you're increasing total body magnesium, and you're also reducing inflammation in the body, which is tied to cancer, autoimmune diseases, and so on. So a lot of people say, hey, my lupus settled down after I started optimizing my minerals. My cancer became much more treatable. My doctor's saying I'm in remission, I'm staying in remission. Well, when your body is magnesium deficient in all these trace minerals, it can't fight anything, whether it's infection, TB, AIDS, hepatitis, or cancer, which is an infection. People should realize cancer is an infection with specific genes turned on and off for the cells to adapt to that stressful circumstance, and it's survivor cells that are becoming cancerous because they switch off the genes for cell-to-cell contact. And the primary problem is mineral deficiency. That's why if you look at the cancer rates, in 18 populations that live over 100 years of age, like the Georgians in the mountains of north of Tbilisi in Georgia, they have 100 times more people that live to be 100 years of age than here in North America. 100 times. No. There's 2 seats in the parliament that you have to be 100 years old. You can't even sit in them, and you have to have all your clues. So imagine you have to have 2 people in those seats that have to be 100 years old to sit in the parliament in Georgia. Right. Now, it's all dependent on minerals. They drink glacial milk. But, if you take topical minerals from the Dead Sea, which is the best source of minerals on the planet, and then you take Indiamines, you take all our Nutrimed line minerals and vitamins and 7-star things, the Power of Ones, Oxygen, Nutrimeds, Energetic Technology, Stem Cell, I call the Power of Ones, you're going to heal. Whether it's fighting cancer, autoimmune disease, or restoring your bone density. And don't believe the doctors. They're going to give bisphosphonate drugs that if they perforate your lower esophagus, you'll get a mediastinitis and you could die. Or they'll put you in an ICU and have to put a drain in the center of your chest, which is deadly and dangerous surgery. People need to realize that the medical profession, this is actuarial tables, have killed, in the last 10 years in America, 2.25 million people. And that doesn't include dentistry, where dentists are putting non-biologically safe materials like gutta percha, which contains cadmium, mercury, silver, amalgams, or other posts where the machining oils for the titanium or other posts they put into people's bones, people don't have tolerance to. So they have biological intolerance. So that just gives you an idea that the medical and dental professions are putting you in danger by exposing you to things like polypharmacy, not correcting your nutritional imbalances. When you start giving somebody chemo, for example, and their mineral content is shot to pieces, you're going to push them into a cardiac arrhythmia, and they go into coarse VFib, fine VFib, and by the way, when you're in fine VFib, you do not respond to extra joules on your chest. You can burn the hairs off your chest, you will not respond. You have to give enough minerals for the body to even convert back to a coarse VFib so that we can actually cardiovert. People don't know that. And of course, most cardiologists don't know that magnesium and these other minerals, if your levels are too low, that's why if you give somebody high dosages IV, and I was pushing it by direct intracardiac needle right through the chest wall, big giant needle, 10-inch long, or I would do a subclavian or other cut down. I put it right through their subclavian vessels directly into their heart, and I would get people back from all kinds of arrhythmias years ago 30 years ago plus, that people thought was impossible. And I say, well, the problem is the medical profession persecutes people like me that break new ground, ask questions, and find answers. They don't want it. It's bad for business. It's a sickness business. It's a business that protects injured companies, not injured workers. It's a business that protects the salaries of surgeons and pharmacologists and big drug companies. It doesn't want to say, hey, we're going to give you Eliquis, or we're going to give you this or that drug to decrease your clotting so you don't throw off an embolus, because we're not going to stop your heart from defibrillating. We can't stop that. Or they give a dangerous drug like Pacerone that's got black box warnings and say, if you take this, you're probably going to die. People read it and say, Dr. Daigle, I thought it was a conspiracy theory, but then when I read the black box warning or asked my doctor, he said, well, yeah, it is this dangerous. I have to disclose that. It's aggravating, isn't it?
Yes. Dr.
It is, and I tell people, I say
that we have really not even touched on in this conversation.
Yeah. Go
what
ahead.
It does for our skin. We've had so many skin issues with plaque psoriasis, eczema, rosacea, acne. The product of magnesium, or the magnesium itself, heals the cells. It will take people that are having severe problems with plaque psoriasis to the point one lady had her hand that looked like hamburger meat. She had wore a glove on her hand for about 10 or 12 years. She started using the minerals. She basically would take them and dilute them quite a bit to begin with because, of the singing and the burning. But she kept increasing it, and using our healing body balm, her hand looks like baby skin now. And it was
the healing body balm I use with my massage therapist every week. I'll tell you, it's amazing stuff.
Yes.
Yeah, healing body balm, I'll tell you, if you want a massage, deep tissue massage where they get right in and just grind and separate all those tissue planes, you want healing body balm on it. And if you have a shower, you want to spray yourself afterward with the Magnus Sport or the magnesium oil. It's fantastic. Your body afterward will say, wow, it's amazing. Get MG12 products here at Nutrimedical and order them through us and our link, and we will get credit. Thank you, and stay right there. We're going to rebook for another time. Coming up in hour number 3, by the way, we have Pastor Butch Pa, who has a show here on the Genesis Network. We're going to have lots of topics to talk about. It'll be a hot hour. Stay tuned.